Welcome to the Social Mission Revolution. Each week we explore some of the greatest undertold stories of businesses and everyday people who are making their ultimate impact on the world through social mission. This is Social Mission Revolution, and this is your host, Andrea Putting. Welcome to another episode of the Social Mission Revolution. And I'm here today with Dr. Elaine Christine, and we're going to have a chat about the Charter of Compassion, which is a wonderful concept, isn't it, about how we can all be more compassionate and incorporate that into our lives. So welcome, Dr. Elaine.
Thank you, Andrea. It's a delight to be on your podcast, The Social Mission Revolution. And as a charter partner in our religion, spirituality, and interfaith sector, we are delighted to support you in your mission.
Thank you. And it's great to be a part of the wider community where people are coming together and saying, you know, we want to make this world a better world.
And a more compassionate world, specifically for the charter.
Yes, because when we're more compassionate, we have a better world. So I'd love you to tell us a little bit about the Charter of Compassion. Maybe we'll start with that question that I ask people every time I get onto a podcast. So, Elaine, if there was just one thing for you to fight for, what would that be?
Well, speaking from the Charter for Compassion, we would put our proactive energy into compassionate acts, which can be simple kindnesses to people that we meet. It really is a movement of millions of people around the world, and this equates to compassionate cities. We have over 400 compassionate cities. It represents over 600 million people. And if everyone were just a little bit kinder, that's the kind of energy that we would hope to put out in our world. We really believe that it is one simple act done with great love. And so it's not really a fight, but what I think you're saying is, where would you put your energy if you wanted to change the world? And that's what we do, one kindness at a time.
It's wonderful because it is that simple. It's just that one. And I talk about this all the time. You just got to do this one act and change the world for one person, and you're making a big difference. So I'd love to know about the Charter of Compassion. Can you give us some insight into what it is? To start with would be a good place to start.
All right, I'd be happy to. I've been associated with the Charter for Compassion since 2014, but it was actually, the origin story goes back to 2008 when Karen Armstrong gave her award-winning TED Talk about how the Golden Rule should be resurrected as a unifying principle for all faiths and for religious harmony. And we have found that the Golden Rule, it is now a day that's celebrated on April 5th every year. And we have found that in all the major religions and faiths and ethical and moral systems, that the Golden Rule truly is a unifying principle. And she had a heart for that, so the TED organization awarded her money. And what grew out of that was at the end of 2013, and you'll be happy to know, Andrea, it was December 15th, 2013, that the Charter for Compassion became a nonprofit 501c3 charitable organization.
Wow, It's December the 15th. That date sounds familiar for some reason. It's
Yeah,
Chocolate and Coffee Day for Religious Harmony, which was born 2 years after that. So that,
exactly. And so we are definitely connected through that date. And specifically, the Charter has 12 sectors that try to mirror the United Nations and their sustainable goals. We, of course, have in the sector that I lead as the lead volunteer coordinator, the religion, spirituality, and interfaith sector. um, this golden rule, we take it to heart and we support that. But we also have hundreds of charter partners that have signed this specific charter, which everyone can do at charterforcompassion.org. The website has lots of resources and how your city can become a compassionate city, and there's a toolbox for that. There's also an education institute called Charter for Compassion Education Institute, and I am taking courses for working together towards harmony and compassion in science and the kinds of research that are being done to show that compassionate people are happier, and the way that our brain works is really to feel good about doing these kindnesses for other people. It's actually very healthy.
yes, and I've been doing one of the courses on the Charter for Compassion myself, and it's just fabulous material that's really opened up my eyes. And you say about compassion makes us feel good, and that's what I've been talking about lately. With I kind of coined it as being sharing my chocolate, because we talk chocolate makes us feel good. Well, what makes us feel even better is the compassion and sharing. So if we share our chocolate, it feels better than having the chocolate yourself. And some people look at me and go, "Oh no, chocolate's pretty good." And I go, "Try it."
Yeah, exactly.
Try that.
It does come down to an emotional well-being that, it's like comfort food, right? Everybody
That's
likes
right.
that special treat, and everybody is special in their own way. So even though we look to the similarities, we want to know that the differences are to be celebrated as well.
Yes, and that's been a lot of my thing, is that I see that governments and organisations, well, they've been focusing so much on diversity that they're kind of creating more divisions rather than trying to get us to come together and find those similarities. Once we've found the similarities between us, we're then able to celebrate those diversities and enjoy them, because we're then in a place of comfort with. When we're comfortable with somebody, then we can work out and discover how they're different to us. It's, yeah.
So you've taken something that is similar in all cultures, the beverage, the hot beverage, whatever
Yes.
that your pleasure is, whether you're a British tea or, uh, you know, uh, my husband has his coffee every morning.
Yep.
Whatever that is, I like smoothies myself, but it is something, a place that people gather. And I love what you said, how you say often, let's talk about that. And this is what we're doing. We're starting the conversation and keeping it going throughout the year, not just December 15th.
Yes, and that's what I'm working more towards now, is making that more of a everyday opportunity for people in various settings. So how does the Charter of Compassion encourage people to work together to break down those barriers?
We actually have a staff meeting every Monday morning, and people are on the call from around the world, from Israel, from Canada, from, of course, here in the United States in Florida, but Canada, they're just people from around the world and in all these different states. Some are bilingual. A lot of our things are being translated into Spanish, but our meetings obviously are in English, but it's a diverse group. And they really encourage us to share the kinds of initiatives that we're involved in, that our charter partners are involved in, that we're supporting. So, for example, what I would do in my meetings, in the sector meetings, we would interview our charter partners and we would highlight them with social media posts and things so that other people that come to our website for compassion, for a positive chocolate, as you say, you know, for their heart and mind, that they see that if they tune into the Charter for Compassion, it's like a positive news channel. And we're the ones that keep that going. We're a network of charter partners. We're not doing all the compassionate work, but we're educating the importance of compassion and keeping that conversation going through supporting our charter partners and providing compassionate cities with a toolbox so that they can have their own education and educate their own people. One of the most recent articles that I wrote was about the Australian bushfires, and the Australian Compassion Council, one of their members is on in the sector, and so I interviewed him to tell us and to tell the world about what was going on and what their hopes were for the future and how the bushfires were going to impact their own, they hope to be the first compassionate continent because of the tragedy that has happened for the people and the animals and the land, but to turn that into a positive. And so that's all we can hope to do is when these things happen that are in the world, that we have this more global focus. We care about Australia and we care about the people and the animals and the land. And so to promote what they want to do, we're just really like a positive news channel.
Yeah. So that's a powerful thing of being able to have somewhere we can all go to listen to hear those positive things, because I know that the news channels are all full of doom and gloom all the time, and a lot of people get depressed with that. But we need to be looking at what else is happening in the world. I have this one quote from the weirdest place. It's from the movie The Magical Mystery Tour with the Beatles. Terrible movie, but there was this one quote that I picked up on, and it's like, if you look to the left, the view is very uninspiring, but if you look to the right, so it just depends on which way we're looking. If we look one way, we're going to get the doom and gloom. If we look the other way, there is just something amazing that can fill our lives, and we can see that there is something special, so many wonderful things happening in the world. And I always like to look at that side. I like to think that the people are generally good, and if they weren't, we wouldn't be living in the society that we do. We wouldn't be able to walk down the street and just do the things that we do without even thinking about.
We have to press on no matter what. For our grandchildren, I know that you have a grandson and I have grandchildren, and we press on no matter what happens to us or to other people. So our movement from the Charter's perspective is to make known that there are people working on educating themselves in their self-compassion and then expanding that ripple to their family, to their community, to their nation, and to the world.
Yeah. Yes, it's just wonderful to be able to know that there is something happening. And I feel this. I feel that there is so much positivity actually happening in the world and amongst the darkness. There is that light coming forward.
Yes, but we have to promote the light and not just keep it to ourselves.
Yeah, we don't want to hide our light under the bushel, as they say.
No, exactly. So let me tell you another recent activity in my volunteering role. I was able to tune into a webinar that they had at the Charter for Compassion, and there is a documentary a filmmaker made about a really unique project for helping homeless people in Austin, Texas. And what they were doing was they were creating a community, and their nice quote from one of their founders was that uh, homes won't solve homelessness, but community will. So in other words, it's really that the homeless people are looking for community and support. And so what this it's called Community First Village. They found several acres of land, and their target demographic is the chronically homeless, the ones that have been on the streets for 10 years. And they bring them in. There's an application, and they support them with some type of education or trade that they can learn so that they can actually work in the community and pay their own rent in some type of a micro, whether it's an RV or some type of micro housing that's not expensive, but it's a whole community. And it is not asking, it is a nonprofit, but and so it's not free, but they're training the people so that they can work and then pay rent and live there and not just expecting governments to pay or tax dollars that people are resistant to, but actually helping people turn their lives around, because if they're on the street, there's some reason that they need the compassion in order to integrate back into a positive way to live. And so then, of course, what I do is write the article and the social media posts that go with that and a few hashtags and tell the story. Because then if people can go to their website, maybe they can donate to their project and their nonprofit and help help or take inspiration back to their own city, that perhaps the solution is not, that we need to build homes on tax dollars, but to actually help these people in more of a community setting. Community will solve the homeless problem.
Yeah, that's a really important way of looking at it, because we forget about that. And that's the most important thing. For me, I find that community is our most important focus. If we can be in community with other people and feel that, because it's all about that acceptance and feeling like you belong, you've got to belong somewhere. And if you don't, then everything else falls apart.
That's right. And this is speaks to the heart of compassion, because I was just in San Francisco, Andrea, babysitting some of those grandkids, and there were homeless people on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
And it's really tears my heart that there isn't a better plan for helping. And so anyway, that is just something that we work to promote the projects that are working, instead of just boo-hooing that, that we're still seeing the homeless on the sidewalks.
Yeah. So what other kind of projects do you see coming through the Charter of Compassion?
What other kind of what?
Projects. What other kind of things that you see? Because you must have a whole list of stories of things that are happening around the world that are just amazing.
Yes, exactly. And so I typically try to just stay with the religion, spirituality, and interfaith sector, but there are all of these other sectors, and so we do multi-sector projects. So I also am tuned into the sector called Women and Girls, because we can do projects together, with them, and charter partners that straddle, both sectors and support them in that way. So we come together for that. And the environment sector, we also are involved. They have a compassionate tree project. And so they're all about, let's get more trees planted and dedicate the trees. And I know in Australia there's a big move afoot to replant.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the big things that that we're doing this spring, and a lot of it is because of Australian bushfires.
Yes. Well, there's certainly a lot of room for it here at the moment, but also I see, generally speaking, Australians are very compassionate, can be very compassionate people. Of course, I'm not going across the board, but we have a very good volunteer ethos in this country. So when something happens, everyone does pull together, which is always inspiring.
You are on our prayer list, believe me, and we're following all the stories. And for me, I love koala bears. I have koala bears sitting on my bookshelf.
So do I.
Yeah, I actually have one that I put all my ski pins on. I call him Ski Bear, but he's a koala bear. I just love them, and I did, in my article, mention some of the places that could donate to some of the animal hospitals in Australia. So we are with you, heart and soul. This is one planet, and we are one people, and we're the ones that need to be steward of the land and the animals, and all that is tied up in compassion. So one other thing I did recently is the Golden Rule Day. We tried to have 24 hours of video on that International Golden Rule Day, which is April 5th. And so I did my 1 minute video and submitted that so that I could have my 2 cents to contribute. And so it's just another way that we share the importance of the Golden Rule and what it means to us. And hopefully people will enjoy all the videos.
Yes, and I love the Golden Rule and the fact that it does go through every religion. I have little things that I put up on the Golden Rule for Chocolate and Coffee Day. So, going through those and seeing how every religion has its own version of do unto others as you would do unto yourself. I think I've said that wrong. Anyway, the idea of being kind and compassionate to each other it just spans every religion, and I always think of that as a way to make people think, oh well, hang on a minute, they're a different religion and I thought they were about this or that, but they're saying the same thing as what we're saying. It's
the foundation, and that's what we're trying to remind people, that it is foundation, and we basically are wanting to be compassionate as humanity, as basic humanity, and the idea that we still have people that are in such need, or in times of disaster, it's one thing to rally, like the bushfires. It was a disaster and a tragedy, so rally around that. But every day to have these homeless people, it's just, it seems to be that we don't know how to cure some of our society ills. But I think through compassion, we will find our way.
Yes, if we have
That's
that feeling of compassion towards somebody else, then the way to come about that is going to come to us.
Yes,
And
it's like when they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, the Compassion Education Institute is, is the teacher. And so I think the student is ready.
yes, absolutely, yeah. And that's part of my message. You keep talking about stuff that's my message. It is what I call beyond the why. So for that, it's like, well, I am ready to do something. It's within my heart that I want to do something, but it's not necessarily going to be my story. It's what I feel called to do. So while, for example, I've never been a victim of prejudice, to me, I will fight for those who have, whether it's religion or race. That's just something that sends me absolutely crazy, is when I hear or see any prejudice. So it's beyond the why. So we need to allow those things that really spark something within us grow. We need to, no, that's not right. Well, then if that doesn't feel right, then that's your calling. That's what you need to do something about. And how can I become more compassionate and allow whatever it is that's guiding me to do something? What is it that I can do?
And I do want to encourage everybody to start with themselves. You have to learn. Come to the charter. The courses are very reasonably priced,
Yeah.
and learn how to be compassionate to yourself,
Mm.
because you can't give what you don't have. And until you learn to love yourself, you don't have that to give other people. So it really is, think of it as a pebble in a pond. Take the course and you apply it to yourself, and then you can give it.
Absolutely. You're so right on there. We can't give what we don't have. So it's, and so many people just get caught up in their everyday stuff, and they just don't spend that time just for themselves. And when you don't spend that time for yourselves, you also aren't able to hear where else you can be guided to go.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But you are a voice and a spokesperson. And as an author, obviously, you've got an organizational there that you can put, pen to paper and actually, publish something. A lot of people, they don't have those skills. So to recognize how you contribute, how you have a
Mm.
gift for your social mission revolution podcast, it is a voice for that can amplify, and it's just I guess we're kind of a mirror for that, because we also want to amplify, your message, like with Chocolate and Coffee Day for Religious Harmony. That's something that we treasure. We treasure interfaith harmony. And in terms of the United Nations, they've got the whole first week of February being Interfaith Harmony Week. And so, like, we support that as well. We as a network, we do partner with other organizations like UNESCO, and really just a lot of people.
Yes. And I think you kind of put the finger on the point there. While I have the skills in getting a message across, everyone else has different skills, and to find their place in how they can make a difference is really about finding, they don't have to be a speaker or author. They can be whoever they are, and in some way in that they're going to be able to find their skill, their talent, where they can, how they can make a difference. And I think that's an
People,
important thing.
yeah, people are the biggest resource. So if they want to volunteer, we certainly welcome them. The charter website is www.charterforcompassion.org. And we certainly welcome everyone to go and explore what is going on. They have the Global Read program, which, you know, takes an author's book and then they go through it using, I think, Zoom as maybe their way that they get together online. So there's lots of fun things going on, and you'll find like-minded people, people who want to tap into something positive and make a contribution toward a more compassionate world.
Yeah, it's a great resource for people just to explore, and who are thinking that I want to do something and I don't know what it is I want to do in the world. They start to look at what other people are doing. Something might just spark in them that yes, this is something that I feel passionate about. This is something that I can get involved in, or start, or look for something in our local area or around that particular thing. So it's a great place for people to search and find themselves. I think once we find our compassion and we find our own personal social mission, we find ourselves.
Beautifully said.
So before we end today, is there some advice? I think we've probably given the advice on what people can do if they wanted to become involved in the Charter of Compassion. How could they do that?
Yes, we encourage all the individuals to sign the charter, which there's a very nice short video, 2-minute video that actually has different people saying the whole charter, which is a few paragraphs, but it's just a fun way to learn what the charter is actually saying and to sign that. So again, just go to the website, charterforcompassion.org, and then look and see if you have a business that would fall into one of the categories. You could become a charter partner, and you would have a listing so that you would be alongside many other businesses that are maybe doing similar things. And as you said, Andrea, that you might get some inspiration from that. And also you can look to the education courses that are coming up, the global reads that are going on. And I think very important, find out, is your city a compassionate city? If not, why not? And maybe get your mayor started on the road to making your city compassionate.
Wonderful idea. Really, really great. I love that about having a compassionate city. I might have to look at my own local council and see if we can get some movement in becoming a compassionate city as well. So I really like to thank you today, Elaine, for your time and for your compassion and sharing with us what Charter of Compassion is all about. And I see it as an opening, an opportunity for people who are interested in social mission to explore and to develop and to find something else that they can do in the world. And some of those courses really are awesome.
Thank you, Andrea. It's been a pleasure to be on the Social Mission Revolution podcast, and thank you for being that spokesperson for social change.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Okay, thank you. And that's all we have today for the Social Mission Revolution. We'll be back next time with another Social Mission Revolutionist. This has been the Social Mission Revolution with Andrea Putting. Join me again next week when we'll speak to another social mission revolutionist who will inspire you on your journey to making your ultimate impact on the world.